one of my classic moves is just to be like, oh, it doesn't matter. Ignore it until the feeling goes away. And then I, move on. But I don't think you can do that forever. I think it catches up to you.
No, I'm not saying ignore it. I'm saying get super, super interested in it.
Yeah.
And go all the way through it and alchemize the poison into the medicine.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, this is the dark muck, I need to get I gotta get some light in here now. What if we just really got to know the dark muck? And something that I enjoy doing, sometimes I work with a therapist. He helps me with certain things. Sometimes I can be a little like soft on myself, a little light on myself. I'm like a little too mother nurturing with myself. And I'll say things that aren't quite definitive enough, or I'll say things where I'm kind of like, I'll say something like, I feel like I'm sabotaging myself in this way, or I feel like I'm only working up to, a tenth of my potential, or something of that sort. Like I have that sensation. And then I'll follow that with, but I'm doing pretty good, or in comparison to whatever, like my problems or whatever. And he's like, no, like stop that. In order to create enough alchemical energy to get to create this change and shift within yourself, like you actually need to build that energy up enough. And every time we kind of send a little injection of like, it's not so bad, or some kind of way that we kind of squirm out of it, it's like we're losing pressure to create the change. And I wonder with something like that, if it's something that we've been experiencing within ourselves for, a short time or a long time, if there could be value in just going into it to really feel all the feelings and not bypass it with the light and not bypass it with any of that stuff, but actually just go all the way into it until we make it out to the other side of it. And I'm not suggesting this for you, and it's just more just something I'm talking about from like just an explorational way.
No, I like it. It's kind of like if you're afraid of the dark, go sit in the dark.
Exactly. The solution to the fear of the dark is to be in the dark. It's literally the only solution. The solution to not be afraid of the monster underneath your bed is the only option is to go into the bed. Yeah.
It's funny. I am afraid of the dark, and I don't know why. And I live out in the country, and 2 nights ago, it's frozen here. It's just it's sunny and beautiful, which is not like Oregon. Oregon's usually temperate and rainy. It's like usually like 45 degrees right about now. And right now it's like low 30s. And my dog decided at 10 o'clock at night, she was going to go wander the farm, and we live on 40 acres, and she went across the field. And I'm out there in the pitch black dark walking in my pajamas and a coat and a hat, and I'm calling for her. And I heard my voice get more and more frantic because I was getting scared because it was so dark and I was so far away from the house and I was so far away from any light. And I was starting to, and then I heard the coyotes chattering off in the distance. And I was like, then I started frantically yelling her name. And she plays this game of hide and seek. And by the time I got to my mother-in-law's house, there was light over there. She bolts out from behind something that she likes to play hide and go seek. So she'll like bolt out, and then she starts running around, skittering around like, you found me. And then she was all excited, and I started cracking up, and we ran back to the house together and we were having so much fun, and I was trying not to fall in a hole. But, I did recognize my voice. I could feel my fear building from the darkness, and I was getting really high pitched as I was calling her. And she's over there just waiting she's just hiding. She knows I'm there, and she's there. She's just like, I'm going to wait till she gets close enough, then I'm going to bolt out. And it was, I share this because I had this whole revelation right in that moment of like, she turned, I was at like fever pitch fear mode of the dark, and she all of a sudden turned it into this funny game, and I just fell apart laughing because I was like, oh my gosh, I was so silly. What's going to get me out here,
So there's something as I'm like talking about all the things like, go look under the bed, expose yourself to the dark, exposure therapy, go into the muck, dark, all that stuff. I think that's still a little bit of the mind approach. There's also objective tools, a person that you already mentioned, like regulating your breath, your breathing. Mm-hmm. And so that's if a person is in a super reactionary state, they'll start to lose control of their capacity to really think in like a quote unquote rational way. And they'll literally become like a reptilian or more like mammalian version of themselves. The blood will go back into the hindbrain, will come out of the prefrontal cortex, and you're just acting on reflexes at that point. And a way that a person that you probably accidentally did with your dog because you started laughing, which would be putting you more into like an exhalatory pattern of breathing, which is great. But you can come into and just start to notice your breath. Something that people are commonly told, is like, take a deep breath if you're feeling stressed out. Taking a deep breath is maybe better than not breathing at all, but better suggestion would be take a long exhalation.
Yeah.
So it's that, like you can even do it in a conversation. Like literally me just doing that right now, I feel more calm just from that. And then, physiologically, I am more calm. You could measure it. Blood pressure will change, HRV will change. And what's happening in that is you're slowing down your heart rate. And so when you're in that place with the dog and you're getting panicked, you're getting really kind of stressed out, and you're going more into that sympathetic response. You're probably going more into an inhalatory pattern with your breathing. And once you felt calm, you probably had a little bit of an extended exhale.
Oh, I had a huge one.
And there might have even been a sigh.
Yeah.
And so all of that's something that's like, oh, interesting. That's a top-down approach where the environment caused you to come into having those physiological responses, but you can also go bottom up and start to regulate your autonomic nervous system through one of probably the most powerful tool will be the way that you breathe, because it's the bridge between the autonomic and the somatic nervous system. And it's also interesting that literally and figuratively, like every yoga book or spiritual book or whatever, is like the breath is the bridge between the mind, breath is king of the nervous system, all that. It's Iyengar. But it literally is the base of the brainstem, the medulla oblongata. That's why alligators are ornery. You know that reference?
No.
Oh man, what is that? Is it Billy Madison? Was that one where he's playing playing football? Do you know that one?
I know what you're talking about.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Billy Madison's the golf one. It's not Billy Madison. It's Happy Gilmore. No, Happy Gilmore's the golf one. Anyways, whatever.
I vaguely
Waterboy. It's Waterboy. You don't know that scene? He's talking about the medulla oblongata.
No, I vaguely remember. Yes, I can't like those. All of that like is in a void of the 2000s in my brain.
The professor's talking about the medulla oblongata, and then Adam Sandler, the Waterboy, raises his hand and he like tells him what the medulla oblongata does, and he says, "Mama says it's what causes alligators to get ornery." And then the whole class laughs at him and he has a trauma moment. Then he has to work that out with a therapist and some breath work 20 years later. That's like the second part. It's the second part of the movie.
Back to the breath again.
Full circle. So you can regulate your experience and use that. It's one of the best tools you can have if you are doing any type of like somatic experiencing or something where you are, if you're in a space to start unraveling some of those deep parts, which a podcast wouldn't be the place for it. Could be, but using the breath as a tool or a guide or a vehicle to take you into those places is one of the best things a person can possibly do.